is only one perfect solution, but there are clues that will try to trick our team.
Hello there everyone, my name is Crazy Caleb and welcome to Gem Division. Now this module is indeed made by Speaking Evil, however this module itself is actually not that bad, and it is actually rather quite a nice solo for diffusers. So let's get right into this. So before it lies you an artifact revered by the ancient Imhotep civilization, a ring of 20 precious gems resting upon an altar. As we can see here, we're surrounded by 20 different gems. They can of course be different colors based off of the module, but this is going to be the way that they essentially look. So what we have here is what we're going to be looking at. This artifact was believed to be designed by the gods of sky and earth, Obek and Terzu, who would fight one another to claim it, causing natural disasters and damaging the artifact itself. Tired of the feud, the god of the sea, Neri, stole the artifact and placed it upon the altar, where neither god can reach it. A great treasure is said to be bestowed to the one who returns the artifact to the gods and resolves the feud. This can only be done by interacting with the altar. You attempt to cut the gems from the ring and sort them individually, but you notice the gems cannot be moved from their position on the altar. After a certain number of cuts, the ones made earliest fix themselves. It appears that there can be no more additional cuts than there are distinct gem types, and touching the original cut reseals any additional cuts, except the one made most recently. So let's just sort of process all of this. So what we have here is we have these rings of gems, and what we have is a series of different cuts that we can potentially place here. This black spot is going to be the original cut, and that's going to be essentially what you're going to do. The goal of this module is we're trying to place separate cuts around this module at very specific spots, but as you can see, we only have 3 different types of gems, and if we happen to place one more, excuse me, that was a voice crack, as you can see that the earliest cut that we placed was removed, and this means that essentially what's going to happen here is we're going to essentially be sort of, we have a specific amount of cuts that we can use. In this case, there can be no more additional cuts than there are distinct gem types. In this case, we have 3 gem types, in this case being red, black, and pink. So that means we can only have a maximum of 3 cuts, not including the original cut. And as we happen to also say, touching the original cut will reseal all additional cuts except the one made most recently. It gets rid of 2 of them. So we will be left with 1, which of course we can simply just start putting stuff in there and just get rid of that, just like that. So now, what exactly is our goal with this module here? Pressing the center of the altar will prepare the artifact for an offering, and the ring is separated into groups based on where the cuts have been made, and the group immediately clockwise from the original cut is offered to Obek, and each group will alternate between which god is being offered to. Now, the way that this works is it's going to be something like this. Let me provide an example here. So let's place some cuts randomly around here. So what's going to happen here is that the group immediately clockwise from the original cut is offered to Obek, and the way that the groups actually work here is the way that you cut, for example, this module. This group of 4 different gems between the original cut and the first cut going clockwise, these 4 gems are going to be offered to Obek. And then the next group is going to be offered to, Terzu. So in this case, this red, black, pink, pink, black, 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 this next group is going to be offered to Terzu. And the way that you can actually see this is, I'm going to submit this module, but I know for a fact that it's going to be wrong. So let's hit it. As you can see, these groups are now separated based off of the different colors, as you can see. The module does not reset on strike, it just simply gets rid of all of the cuts that you've made. So, but that's the way how this grouping is going to work. It's not like red goes to blue, pink goes to the other one, and vice versa. That's not the way that this works. So, let's take a look and let's see what we need to do with this module. And if both gods receive the same number of each type of gem, they will accept the offering, and the treasure is yours. However, if either god receives fewer of any type of gem than the other, the fighting will continue and there will be consequences for angering them, in this case, a strike. So, that's going to be very, very important to note down. So, what we essentially want to do is, first things first, I generally like to tend to process how many types of each gem that we have on this module. So in this case, for red, we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For pink, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to be pink equals 6. And for black, that's going to be equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this does indeed add up to a total of 20. This makes sense, because it's always going to be 20. It should say 20 somewhere, I think. It's always going to be 20, though. Yeah. 20 precious gems. There we go. So yeah, it's always going to be 20. Everything should add up to 20. Okay, and then now what we want to do is we want to place 3 specific cuts, and usually you have to use all of them in most cases, but we want to find spots for for specific cuts so that we can essentially separate the gems. And what we can essentially do is we want to find out how we can get it equal to each other. So in this case, what we can try and look at is we can actually take a look here. And I think one of the places that would be good to start here is putting a barrier here. Because of the fact, if we take a look here, what we want to do is we want to separate the reds from each other. These reds are very much apart from each other, and I think that's going to be a good idea to do here. So let's take a look and let's see what we can do also. And we might be able to place this right here. What this is doing here is this is actually placing a, this is going to be 4 blacks right here, which we have right here. And maybe, let's take a look. What we have is we need to find a way to split these 2 pinks. This is going to be where things get a little bit interesting. We might want to place it one beforehand, a cut beforehand. So let's back it up. We might want to place a cut beforehand because we want to take a look and we want to try and split these pinks up together because each of them so far have 2 based off of this circumstance right now. So let's try and figure this. Let me try and explain this well. Currently, so far every god has at least this god has 3 reds and 2 pinks, so that's going to be half of what we want for the reds, and this is going to be a quarter. This is going to be a third of what we want. We need 1 more pink for each of these gods here. Now, if we take a look at this one down below, what we have here is we have 3 blacks for this god, and we have 2 pinks. Okay, we need 1 more for each of these here. Now, let's try and process this. What would be a good spot? Because currently, right now, what we need is we need to get 4 blacks for this other god over here. That's what we need to be concerned about. So maybe what we can do is maybe something like this. This is a very interesting one, I will say that for sure. So we probably want to reset. But I think it is maybe safe to say that there is going to be some sort of, trying to think. Essentially, what we want to do is we want to try to figure out how to essentially divide these guys apart from each other. And I think actually probably a good spot to focus on is actually going to be up here. These two pink ones are going to be really annoying, but they are essential, absolutely essential to the second part of this module. And actually, we might not even need to separate those 2. We actually probably just need to bring 1 up here to give us 3, to give us our 3 reds and 3 pinks. But now what we need to do is we need to worry about black for this one as well. So let's try and figure this thing out. And perhaps what we can do here is maybe, I have an idea. Yes, I think this might work. So let's check this. So what we have here is we have this first god is going to get 3 reds, 3 red, 3 pink, and 1 black. Okay, and that's going to be the first group right there. The second god with the second group is going to get just simply a 1 pink. That's not too bad though, but that's not really a great start for us. Then it's going to go back to the first god, and it's going to give us our 3 more blacks that we need, and then the rest of the cuts, in this case, are going to give us 3 reds. That's going to give us 2 pink, and that's going to give us a 4 black. Now, what we have just done here is we have made it split evenly. Because of the fact that if we take a look here, we have 3 cuts on the board. There's no more additional cuts than there are distinct gem types. That's perfect. What we've done here is we have given us 3 pinks and 3 reds. That's already half of the first 2 gems that we've already taken care of. But we needed to worry about black because we only have one of the 4 blacks that this god needs. So what we were able to do was we were able to separate this pink and give us these 3 blacks right here, and then the rest was going to be given to the other god. So now if we hit submit, this should be our correct answer. These cuts are going to separate for us, and they should get an equal amount of gems here. And just like that is a solved module. The orange ones will float into the module, and the blue ones will go up to the sky. And just like that is a solved module. This is essentially what you're doing with this module, and as you can see, it can definitely be a little bit tricky, but it's really all on the diffuser aspect of it, making sure that you understand how this works. Let's take a look at another example here, and this one actually is very, very easy. This one actually looks like it could be quite simple. We know for a fact that there's going to be some form of cutting happening between these two blacks, because each god needs to get at least one of them. We know that for a fact. So we know that something's happening here. Now let's take a look at the reds and the pinks, because there is a lot of reds on this module. We currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 reds. Jesus. Pink is going to be equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to be 6 pinks. And a black is going to be equal to 2. That does equal up to 20. That's perfect. So now let's take a look and let's see what we can do here. So now there is 3 gem types on here, so that means that there's going to be a maximum of 3 cuts, which we're going to likely have to use, honestly, just because of how many reds there are here. But let's take a look. So potentially, let's see what we can do here. And I have a couple ideas of what we can do. And let's see. Perhaps we can maybe do something a little bit smaller. Now, one of the things that I can already realize here is we could potentially do a little bit of a grouping like this. We could potentially get these pinks together, leaving this little bit over here for what's left of it. But I think we need to be careful because we need to also balance the amount of reds that we give. So we probably want to keep this one close to the black, just so we do give this enough opportunities here. So let's get rid of this. And let's put this one right here for now. Let's try that and see what that does for us. This does give you the 6 pinks that they need. And actually, I think we might have an answer here. Hold on. So, currently, God 1, let's just mark this as 1 for right now, and let's mark this as 2. 1 currently has 1 red and 1 black, and God 2 currently is going to be going to the next set, has 6 red, 3 pink, and 1 black. This one's actually already split evenly. And at this point, what we can pretty much discern is that with this next set over here, we can get 3 more pink, and then we get 5 more reds, which is exactly what we needed. Now, they are split evenly. So this is, in this case, you did not actually happen to have you did not happen to use all 3 cuts, and in this case, the gods have been split evenly. This gets this entire half right here, and then from the original cut, it gets this little 2 set over here, and then the rest on this side. So let's hit submit. And just like that is a solved module. Note that you do not need to use the maximum amount of cuts that you're given to you. In most cases, it ends up being that way, but in this case, we actually happen to get a actually perfect even. That was actually really nice for us. So let's take a look at one final example, and as you can see, it gets a little bit more complicated when you happen to have more gems present on the board. Now, in this case, we happen to have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe that's a total of 5. Wow, okay, so let's take a look. Let's start counting everything up. So we have green, red, blue, pink, and black. This is going to make things very interesting, that's for sure. So we can have a total of up to 5 cuts present in this thing. Bam, 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 bam. As you can see, that's going to be a lot. Now that's a lot of damage. So we have 4 greens, we have 4 reds again, we have 4 blues, we have pink is going to be 2, and black is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Big 6. And also, another thing that you can actually realize immediately is if we take a look, the pinks are at the end. The pinks are at the beginning and the end. So that pretty much means that there is going to be, well, there's obviously going to be some sort of separation between these guys. But also another thing that we want to notice is the fact that the blacks are actually all fairly early on. They're within roughly the first half. So that means that there's going to be something happening in between here, which might suggest that there is indeed going to be a cut between this range and perhaps this range over here. So let's take a look and let's see what we can do here. So maybe we can place something like right here. That gives us an even amount of blacks, and that gives us even amount of blacks here. That actually does give us an even amount of reds as well. That's perfect. Which does give the idea and the impression that these reds are going to have to be separated as well. Okay, so let's think about this. And actually, I think I might actually see the solution right here. So let's actually back it up. Let's put this cut back in. Let's get rid of this cut. Let's put this guy right here. And let's see what we can do here. Let's see what happens. Now, one of the things that I'm immediately realizing is that we actually happen to have a bit of a problem here. These blues are not separated correctly. So we actually probably are going to need to use our additional cuts to help us in this example here. But if we take a look right now, what's going to happen here is we have the 3 blacks that have been separated. We have the 3 blacks that have been separated. The gods right now have an equal amount of blacks right now. They each have 3, which is basically what we're going to be doing here. Now, one of the things that's going to be concerning to me is technically each god has 1 blue. So this likely means that we're going to have to be cutting off this blue at the end, or perhaps separating it up top here. That's what I'm mainly concerned about right now. So let's figure this out. And another thing that I was focusing on here is I was focusing on the fact that we need to make sure that these reds are equal as well. Because if we happen to put it back, for example, we would have a load of new problems, and that wouldn't be good for us. And another thing that I'm also noticing is we need to equal out the greens. The god number 2 currently has 2 greens, and we need to get these other 2 greens separated equally. That's what we need to worry about right now. So maybe there's going to be a cut here. Let's see what that looks like. That might be it, I think. Let's check. So currently, within this first group, so 1 and 2, let's just mark this as 1 and 2. Within this first group, we obviously get our 3 blacks. And both of them get their 3 blacks safely. That's totally perfect. That's exactly what we want. So with the second group, it gets then with red, it gets 1, then 2, then it's going to be 1 red for god 1, then it's going to be 2 reds for god 2, and then it's going to be the 1 red for god 1 again, because that's going to be the group over here. So this means it's going to be 2 reds. The 2 reds are taken care of. That's good. Next up for blue. Blue is a bit of an interesting one. And immediately one of the things that I can already tell is each group has 1 individually, and there's only going to be 4 groups present. So each of them happen to have 2 blues. That's perfect. So the blues have been sorted equally, 2 blues. Next up for the pink. The pink is a bit of a weird one here. So this is going to be group 1. This is going to be group 2. This is going to be group 1. This is going to be group 2. So this means that the pinks have been sorted successfully. So they are each going to have 1 pink. And finally, what we need to make sure of is they each have equal amount of greens. We need to have them both have 2 greens. Group 1 has none. Group 2 has 2 of them. That's exactly what it needs. Group 1 has the 2 of them now, and that's all we need right there. 2 greens. And just like that, we have successfully given them the exact same amount of gems of each type. Let's hit the submit button. Let's let it do its thing. Just like that is a solved module. I hope I adequately explained this module well enough. I hope that all of this makes sense, and hope that this is able to I actually quite like this module a lot. I think that this is probably a better splitting the loot in my opinion, and it's also a very, very nice solo in my opinion. Definitely a tricky one, as you saw with that last example, but it is a very, very fun one. So that's it for this module. As always, stay crazy, stay cool, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.